What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Millennial Mind Podcast. I'm TJ, your host, and today I have my friend Michael Chaves with us. And we'll kind of give an introduction to you, Michael, exactly what you do and your business so they can know.
Okay. My name is Michael Chaves. I'm the founder of Kinspired Goal Setters and a PGI consultant. I know there's some acronyms, but Kinspired is KINSPIRED. And it's a combination of kinetic and inspired. And it's in reference to action, taking action. And so many people getting stuck in life and they fall into procrastination. So how do I help them with that? PGI, Proctor Gallagher Institute, Bob Proctor and his business partner, Sandra Gallagher, created a business which operates around the world. So I have this program called Thinking into Results. And it's something that helps people to change the way they think. And one of the things that so many people do is fall into that trap of thinking if they change their behavior, they can change their life. But actually, it starts with your thinking first, because all your behaviors come from your thoughts. And so you think of your thought as a seed. So when you get up in the morning, you're crabby and in a bad mood. Well, that's pretty much what you're giving to the world. So how do I help people to overcome those? By showing them how to change how they can improve. I'm not going to tell them what to do or how to do that. I can give them the ideas, I can give them the perspective, and it's their choice whether or not they do it. And I can tell you through this program, it transforms lives from people around the world. And PGI operates in every country in the world, and thousands of people are using this program. So it has proven results.
That's awesome, man. So I remember when we first started, you pretty much also, though, help veterans.
Right.
Transition from coming out of the military into your program to get them more of the civilian mindset and help them, like myself, not to get fired from civilian jobs one after another. And we talked about that, but I want you to discuss more on how you help veterans overcome that as far as waking up in the morning thinking, what kind of day is this going to be, this, blah, blah, and how, you help them calm down.
Right. One of the things that my observation is this: the majority of us enter at the age of 17, 18 years old. We don't know who we are. And there are people who are in their 50s and 60s, they still don't know who they are. So helping them to understand that, the persona that you created in the military is not the persona you need to carry in the civilian world.
Right.
I'm a retired chief petty officer. Well, I'm a retired chief petty officer, but in the civilian world, my name is just Michael. Actually, not just Michael. My name is Michael. And so who are you in the civilian sector? With your veteran buddies, you are chief or,
right,
PFC or whatever. But that's just amongst veterans. So how do you just change that? As to just create what you want. And waking up in the morning, I had the habit of just going to bed in a bad mood. Might have had a conflict with somebody and just not letting it go and holding on to that. And you wake up in the morning and you still have that thought in your mind. It's like, I hope I don't see so-and-so.
Yeah.
'Cause I just want to kick the crap out of them, right?
Yeah, that's a lot of minds. Yeah.
And so letting go of that stuff, forgiveness to let go.
Mm-hmm.
And I liken life and your experiences to, say, a rose bush. Roses are very beautiful, right?
Correct.
And life can be very beautiful when you have those good connections and those friends and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
But on the stems, there are these thorns that if you make the wrong mistake, actually the mistake of grabbing the thorn, well, that hurts like hell.
Yeah.
And so in order to let it go, actually you let it go to stop the pain. And every time you remember that bad experience, it's like grabbing that rose stem again and grabbing a hold of that thorn. And so in order to overcome that, you just let it go and you don't go back there to that spot. And then you can progress further. And it's about the forgiveness. And the forgiveness is not so much for the individual or the incident, it's for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't get new ideas and you can't get new experiences if you're holding on to the same old crap.
Right.
And you look, I once mentioned it as mental constipation, right? Or you think of a sawmill. You have these logs floating down the river to the sawmill.
Mm-hmm.
And if one of those logs or a couple of those logs get sideways, well, then they just clog up the flow of the river, the logs.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much what the lack of forgiveness is you clogged up your mental muscles.
I never heard of it like that. That's a good analogy right there.
Yeah. And then when you straighten them out and you let things go, everything's going.
That's interesting because I know whenever I got out of the Marine Corps, I had that problem,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because we were never taught to forget. We were always taught to like, well, then this is a problem, you have to fix it. Well, in the civilian world, you really can't fix those problems because you probably get in trouble.
Right.
Whereas in the Marine Corps, you get hazed, you take them to the back of the tool shed and do some push-ups, etc., whatever. And then like to that mind is problem solved. And you come out here and it's more of like, well, you can't do that. So we lash out more in anger about how something is not getting done. Hence, I just said whenever people were, a lot of, like I said, myself, I had this problem like, jumping from job to job because you're just not stable in that mindset to learn how to adapt to the civilian world right out of there.
Right.
I mean, they train you to do this, do that, pretty much dismember or kill. And then that's your problem solve. You come out to the civilian world just like, okay, you got to actually solve that problem.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem I had was getting put in leadership positions and then trying to solve it the way like a Marine would solve the problem.
Oh, I understand.
Right. Versus, okay, well, how would a manager solve that problem? So I would, tell these guys like, hey, man, you're not doing this right, blah, blah. Like, the F is the matter with you. You can't really say that. Like,
Yeah, I can relate.
So, yeah, exactly. So it was real hard, man. I mean, even in like little retail jobs,
Mm-hmm.
Me being a former Marine, they would throw me in a leadership position and be like, oh, I know you'll do good. People listen to you. It's like, yeah, but then they see how we get trained in that leadership position to get stuff done. And all we can think about is mission accomplishment. That's all that matters. I don't care if I hurt your feelings. I don't care if I degrade you, that blah, blah, blah. It's mission accomplishment.
Right.
And the only place that I knew that why I worked in the oil fields a lot was because that was the only place we could do things like that and not get in trouble.
Oh, yeah.
Versus before that, I mean, I was in and out. It was like 21 to 25, I believe, those 4 years, just in and out of jobs. It didn't matter what job it was. Corporate job, in and out. Retail job, it was, I was in and out. I did work at American Eagle for like 2.5 years because my manager, because her husband is a former Marine.
Right.
So whenever, she was like, okay, look, you can do your thing. Just don't cuss at the employees. Don't call them pieces of shit. Don't,
Yeah.
Don't do all this stuff. She was like, but I'll give you the freedom to lead these people because I know you can do well. I was like, okay. And I actually stayed in that position for a long time. But then she switched stores. New manager came in. And, dude, I was out. Like, he was just like, you're not doing that. I'm like, this is how I did it for 2 years. And he just didn't like it, man. So he fired me.
Yeah, and I can understand that. I bounced from job to job. I spent the better part of 20 years just trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And it goes back to how we're conditioned growing up as well.
Yes, yeah.
Go to school, get a degree, get a job. Well, that's the majority of the population.
Mm-hmm.
And when you look statistically, they say 80% of the people who have a college education are not working in their field of study.
Nope.
And so that should tell you if 80% are in different jobs of what they studied, then that's not the right formula.
Yep.
And so you think about how you're raised as a kid. You're not permitted to question your adults, right?
Correct.
And so when you get out, you're not permitted to question people in authority.
Yeah.
And in the military, I took this assessment exam when I went to Tarrant County College. And it said I was not compatible with military duty. I had to laugh. I said, well, I'm retired from the military. But, when I look at it, it's like I wasn't a conformist.
Yeah.
I was thrust into a leadership position at a young age. And I knew that, I didn't like people yelling, screaming, and cussing at me.
Mm.
So why would I do that to the people with whom I led?
True.
And so I came up with a different approach. And I thought one day, it's like, we all make mistakes. And when you look at the mistake, did it cause something to blow up, start a fire, injure somebody? If the answer is no, then you talk about it. And you say, okay, well, why did you do that? And just get an understanding as to what was the problem. Was there a miscommunication? Was there something unclear in the instructions? And I told them, I said, if you have a question or problem, come and ask me. We'll figure it out. I don't have the answers for everything, but we can come up with a solution. And this is about establishing a rapport with the people with whom you lead. And once you have that rapport, it is very scary, the things that people will do because of that rapport. They do things that go above and beyond, and you don't even have to ask them for anything.
Really?
Oh, yeah. And that was my experience. And so when I got out and got into the civilian world, I had what I believed was a winning formula for leadership. But you come across those people in the civilian world who've been managers, they don't want to buy it.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
And the reason being is because they're not open and receptive to new ways of thinking.
Yeah.
And so they want to do it their way. And I had one manager yelling and screaming at me. And the logic was, well, you served in the military, you should be used to that. No, I mean, I'm accustomed to being spoken to.
Yeah.
With a little courtesy and respect. And so it's just that what you see on television is what's programmed into your mind. So people believe things that aren't true, and they never question that.
That's a big problem in today's society.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it is.
I mean, you go, now it's not even Twitter anymore. It's actually called X. Elon Musk changed it.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's called X now.
Is it like SpaceX?
Yeah, like SpaceX.
Okay.
Yeah, so, I mean, that's weird. I just woke up this morning and I was looking at stuff and I was like, what the heck is this? I look at an icon and it's like this black with an X. I said, I don't have anything like that downloaded on my phone. What the hell is that? So I lift up, I'm like, is that Twitter? And I went to my Twitter page. I was like, yeah, I mean, here it is right here. Look, it's branded now, X. There you go.
Oh, man.
So he got rid of it's still called Twitter, but he took the bird off and put the X because he said something to make it more with everything. Something like that. I don't know. He said something of, now it's an everything platform. I said, well, it was already an everything platform, like he's making it pretty much to where it's going to be competitive with Facebook.
Oh, yeah.
So he has now live streaming. He has, now if you're a content creator, now when you're uploading, it's not just anymore of, well, you just upload it's just there on Twitter. Now you can get paid and monetized to have like your shows or your podcasts on Twitter now. So many views, etc. If it goes viral, something that he actually pays you for ad revenue. It's like, okay. But either way, that's
it's interesting you say that.
Crazy.
Yeah. And that's an example of somebody in a position of a leadership who is evolving.
Yes.
And changing because that's how you succeed.
Exactly. And a lot of people don't like that because like what you just said, they're so used to that branding going straight.
Right.
Oh, go to school, graduate, college, job. And like nowadays, there are these kids that are doing e-commerce, man, making 10 G's a month in high school.
Oh, yeah.
Like in high school. So, and I think my generation, we're the first ones to actually open up that mindset of, it doesn't have to be military or college and then, be in debt 150, 200K and then get a job that's only paying you 45K.
Oh, yeah.
Like, we kind of broke that, and now, the new Gen Z is making it to where they're like, oh, we can take that and move forward, and now they're making it to where it's like e-commerce and, like I said, man, these kids are making like 10, 15 G's a month just selling crap or doing drop shipping. Yeah, like drop shipping. They'll sign up like Amazon. Like, I mean, I do it for the podcast, like all of our microphones, our booms, my camera. I put like little links and stuff like that if people want to know where it's at, and that's called like affiliate marketing.
Right.
So it's just, man, it's crazy. And these kids see it making money. They're not thinking the way we did. Like, college, get in debt, have a job, and retire at 60 or 65.
Yeah.
Like, it's not the mindset no more. They're these kids that are millionaires at 25.
Yeah, and
30.
that's one thing that how can I say? That's one of the things that I want to help people with.
Yeah.
I'll be 59 in a couple of months.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, dude, I thought you were younger than that.
Well,
I was going to say 48.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. That's crazy.
But it's like I said, I'm a nonconformist. I've always been that way.
Mm-hmm.
Why do I want to follow everybody else?
Right. And that was my mindset growing up was I looked at, and this is the thing, when I got out of the Marine Corps, I looked at some of my friends that didn't go to the military, but they went to college.
Mm-hmm.
And by the time I got out of the Marine Corps, they were out of college, 2-year college or 3-year college, whatever. They had no job. They're still living with their parents.
Right.
But now they're $150K in debt, student loans, with interest rate on that loan of 35%.
That's ridiculous.
That's crazy. Oh, man, they still didn't pay it off. They're still in debt.
Yeah.
And so I was like, and of course my mom, she's Gen X, so she's actually right at the end of the baby boomers. She was 63.
Mm-hmm.
And what's the mindset for our parents, right? Was, get a job, college, college, and then get a job and save money. And it really got us thinking, like, there's so much more opportunity now that we have the internet. Do I have to go to college? And I think 55% of millennials don't even go to college.
Right.
Yeah. And out of that 45%, 40% of them are female that graduated. The other 5% are males that graduated. I mean, that's just a crazy statistic, like, to think about. My generation is like that. And now these kids, I mean, heck, my son sees the business I'm running, and he's like, Dad, if you help me create a business as soon as I get out of high school of doing this, would I have to go to college?
No.
No. And see, that's the problem that I know our parents should have said to us, but they didn't, because like you said, they were so one mindset tunnel vision of this. Why? Because government says so. Us.
The colleges say so too.
And college says, you got to go to college. You got a degree. You have to do. I mean, dude, I know guys making like 4 or 5 faceless YouTube channels, bringing in $10K average a month on 5 channels. You got to go to college for that? No. If you really examine this, I mean, look at Elon Musk.
Mm. He's not sporting a PhD.
No.
Bill Gates.
Dropout.
Bob Proctor, my mentor, he said he only had like 2 or 3 months of high school.
Yeah.
And he built a business that operates in every country in the world. Warren Buffett, Thomas Edison, he didn't even go to school, right? And they say he invented the light bulb, but actually the first light bulb was invented in 1802.
Really?
Yeah. And of course, you never hear about that.
No.
And they called it the arc light. And the guy who invented that light bulb also created the battery. And you never hear about that in the history books. No. And then, of course, there's people who invented a light bulb about 10 years before Edison.
Really?
Yeah.
See, I mean, that's another thing. Like, that's good information, but to teach that in school, I think that's worthless crap.
It is worthless crap. But
to know it is cool.
Yeah.
Right.
Because that there tells you, what are you being taught?
Yes.
And I actually have a book called Lies My Teacher Told Me.
I think we can all relate to that.
Oh, yeah. And even still today, right? Mm-hmm. So now you're taking a test. You're taking courses to pass a test.
Yes.
What is that test going to give you after school?
Yeah. 85% of them, nothing.
Exactly. And and you look at, and I think I was watching something, and what's his name? Ben Shapiro.
Oh, man, he is awesome. I listen to him all the time. I'm pretty sure I'm going to get hate for that. I don't care. Like, I listen to him all the time, man. He is funny.
He is funny. I mean, he is And of course, he's pretty much spot on most of the time, right?
Most of the time, like 99% of the time,
Yeah.
dude's correct. Like, he's a lawyer. You're not going to argue with that man.
And he talks about the dropout rate.
Yeah.
For certain ethnic groups. Kids are intelligent enough to know I'm not being taught a damn thing.
Yes.
And that's why they're not going to school.
Correct.
And I have my oldest nephew, a brilliant kid. But the schools that he went to, they couldn't fill his mind. And so, of course, what's he going to do? He's going to sit there and do whatever.
Yeah, or get in trouble doing something else because his mind is not...
It's not focused.
Not focused, yeah.
My sister was telling me a story when he was, he's like 42 now. But my sister was telling me a story when he was younger.
Mm-hmm.
And they'd go shopping, and he'd tell her, you're not getting a good deal on that. This one here would give you, be less expensive. And he would sit there and he could figure that out.
And he would do the math right in his head.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And so she said he was very helpful in shopping for things.
Mm-hmm.
And they're not teaching that in school.
Oh, no. No, I mean, they're brainwashing these kids in these schools, man. And speaking of, my kid, he actually questioned me. He goes, Dad, this stuff that they're teaching, he goes, just doesn't make any sense. And I said, well, what do you mean? He goes, well, it doesn't make sense because I don't know what I'm going to use when I get out of school. He's like, even if I was to go off to college, he goes, what am I going to use? Math? Okay. He goes, English? Okay. He's like, but everything else, he's like, science. He goes, but I'm not going for all this science stuff. Why do I got to take it? And I said, yeah. And then that's whenever he kind of went into the whole, well, I'll graduate just because. He was like, if I'm not going to the NFL or, doing any types of scouts or anything like that, he goes, I don't really see how college is going to help me.
Mm-hmm.
He goes, if you teach me to run a business and I'm successful at it, he goes, would I have to go to college? And I said, no, man, actually, you don't have to go to college. I mean, I'm not pressing that because, I have my, what Texas gives for the military. I think it's called the
Hazelwood Act.
Hazelwood Act. Yeah,
right.
yeah. Montgomery GI Bill or Hazelwood Act.
Hazelwood Act.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For him to go to college if he wanted to, but it's like, he's just not interested into it. He wants to start a business as soon as he graduates and move forward. And, he saw how successful, my business is going. And he was like, well, if my dad can teach me this, I don't need these teachers to teach me anything. And that's what you were saying. These kids are so smart now.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that they don't want to go to school. It's like, why am I going to school?
Yeah. What are you teaching me?
What are you teaching me? And they question everything now.
Yeah.
Now, you do have some that are just zombies. That
right.
Just, okay. And,
but you look at their parents, too.
And look at their parents. Oh, man. Yeah, they're millennials, too. And I'm like, dude, y'all are crazy. It's like you guys are the reason we have bad raps. Like, they're trying to say, like, the millennials are the, baby generation. We cry too much. I'm like, man, we grew up. I don't know who they're talking about. We grew up on Beavis and Butthead, Doug, Darla, MTV when music still played MTV.
Or MTV still played music?
Or MTV still played music. Yeah, music videos.
Uh-huh.
Beavis and Butthead. Like, we grew up with all this raunchy stuff, especially South Park.
Right.
Now, I did a study, and I haven't edited it yet or put it out because I'm adding to it.
Right.
But it's like this little documentary that I did about the supposedly lower millennials, which are people that they say is 31 and young, 30 or 26 years old to 31.
Mm-hmm.
Those are like the older Gen Z, but they switched it when Obama came into office and tried to say, well, millennials actually stretch all the way to 97. No, it was 1980 to 1991 for like the longest time. 15 years, 16, 20 years. Then all of a sudden in 2010, they switch it up and see that older Gen Z, the ones who were teenagers when Obama was president, that's where it got to the crybabies. Everyone's getting offended and all this stuff. That's the 26, 27, 28, 29. And they tried to hijack being the young millennials, like, no, man. The last millennial, true millennial, stops at 31, maybe 30, maybe. We'll see. But it never was like that until like these recent years, you know.
You know, and as you were talking about that, I'm thinking that's just another label.
Yeah.
Right? And who makes those decisions? And that's the one thing that I've always asked, but I understand the reason behind the baby boomers, because that's, of course, after World War II. And, of course, you know what was happening. That's why there's so many babies.
Yeah.
And then so they come up with all these other generations with these labels. I don't even know what they are anymore. I haven't kept up with them. And to me, I see people. And I look at what are they doing and why. I don't ask so much why. I understand why. And it goes back to what you're teaching them. And when we talk about Beavis and Butthead, I really hated that show.
You hated it?
Yeah, I was like, I was in the military at that time, and there was just something about it. I didn't find it funny, right? And
you were also older too.
Yeah, I was.
It catered to us teenagers,
right?
You know that's why. So
and there's some people I served with in the Navy who thought that was pretty funny.
Funny?
Yeah. And I just looked at it. South Park's funny.
South Park's hilarious.
And it's raunchy though.
Oh man, yeah.
And poor Kenny dies in every episode.
Every episode. But see, this is what really gets me. This is what I don't understand. Is they're talking about crybaby this, crybaby that, but yet South Park has never been canceled by Generation Z.
That's funny.
Why? They love to cancel everything else and everybody else that hurts their feelings. But they've never, I'm guessing because they've never watched like episodes of South Park. I'm pretty sure if they did, they'll probably be like, oh my God. And, you know, the blue hair and black glasses will come out of the woodworks and start protesting and gluing themselves to the street and all types of crap.
You know what's funny? Because when I was a kid growing up, they had this movie called Blazing Saddles.
Dude, I seen that a long time ago, but I think I was like 12 when I saw it.
That crossed so many lines.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they canceled, or they removed To Kill a Mockingbird. That book. You know, and that book.
Was a good book.
It is still a good book.
Still a good book, yeah.
And I enjoyed it. And it taught you the value of an individual, irregardless of who they are.
Who they were, yeah.
And so there's no reason for it to be canceled. Oh, what, because they put a word in there? It's just a word.
Man, I got black friends that don't care.
You know,
they don't care, man. We'll talk as long as they don't put the ER. I mean, man, I can't say it now because YouTube, but I mean, I got black friends. We'll be just with each other. They'll call me that. I'll call, them. They don't care, right? Because they don't see it. And this is what irks me is they really don't see it as a racist term. Only those crazy ones that are like, well, you can't say it. Okay, well, if it's that bad, then you can't say it. Well, I'm black. I'm like, but no, you don't get to do that.
What you do for one, you do for everybody.
Exactly. Right. And so, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, that's a sensitive subject. I don't like talking about that on stream or camera or anything. But I mean, like I said, man, I got black brothers, brown brothers, white brothers, Asian brothers. I got, and you too, being in the military, we don't see color because at the end of the day, we cut each other open. What is it?
It's red blood.
That's all that matters, and that's the way I see it too. I don't see it. I really don't see race that much, to be honest.
I don't either.
Unless it's brought up all the time, and I'm just look at people like, what does that even matter?
When I went to elementary school, we had some black, classmates who were black, and as a kid, I never really thought about it.
Me neither.
6, 7 years old, I didn't think about it. It's just a kid.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, they were different, but I talked to them just the same, and we laughed and we played and stuff like that. Kids don't see that stuff.
Nope.
That's something you have to be taught.
Yeah, and that's
right?
exactly. Yeah, you have to be taught that.
And one of my first girlfriends is black, and my family teased me for it.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And I didn't care. I just saw a very beautiful girl.
But older Hispanic families, man, It was
Yeah.
it's a feud, man.
It is,
I'm not
and-
even gonna lie about that. It's yeah, but luckily my generation and half of yours kind of broke that of like, okay, who cares? Because I know some of my aunts. Yeah, they're like, oh, you got this day, saying stay in your culture, and it's like, who cares? It's like, I mean, both my ex-wife, she's white, my wife now, she's white.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and my mom would tease me. She didn't care.
Right.
My mom didn't care at all. But she would tease me. And she'd be like, so why don't you date a Mexicana? And I started laughing. I said, well, because I grew up with two of them. You were, I said, I'm not going to deal with
I can relate to that. I can relate to that.
And she was just like, hi, Antonio. And she slapped me. She goes, no, it's not. I'm like, Mom, yes. I'm like, because y'all are crazy. I was like, man, I saw one of my friends date this Hispanic girl. And literally like 2 months after they were dating, she was already talking about, oh, so you want kids? And he's like, whoa.
Yeah, put on the brakes.
Whoa. He's like, we're barely dating 2 months. We've only gone on like 5 dates.
Uh-huh.
And she's like, so have you thought about kids? That's why.
Oh, yeah.
And man, are they fertile. You just like touch them pregnant.
Yeah, I have 2 sisters. And the oldest has 4 boys.
See?
And I was like, okay. And, of course, she pays a price for that. I say she has a tribe because, her 4 boys have 4 kids of their own.
Each?
Oh, yeah.
Or the 4 boys together have 4 kids?
Each.
So she has 4 boys.
Uh-huh. And then she has
4 boys and then 4 grandkids from this one, 4 grandkids from this
Uh-huh.
one, and this one, and
And
this
there's
one.
2 sets of twins. Actually, I think there's 2 or 3 sets of twins.
Oh my God.
And so that's a good thing. They have, a
That's
big
a
house.
big family.
Oh, yeah. And then my younger sister has a boy and a girl.
So that's one sister.
That's one sister.
Oh my God.
And, but you look at it, I love them both.
Oh yeah, of course.
And as kids growing up, they were a pain in the neck. And of course, they say the same thing about me. They said, "Well, you were just
his dad."
Yeah, I was just a bad." Well, of course I was. I'm your brother.
Yeah.
But I love them. But and so even my great nieces said, "Well, you just date white women." I'm thinking, big deal.
Yeah. Who
Yeah, my ex-wife is from Ukraine, and nobody knows that. And but I learned how to speak some Russian.
Mm-hmm.
And so I know certain phrases and words, and so I can't speak fluent Russian, but I can understand.
Kind of get your point across a little bit.
Right.
Yeah.
And when my wife was explaining something, so that she knew that I understood, I could tell her in Russian that I understood.
Mm-hmm.
And that way she wouldn't have to sit there and flip a switch and try to translate what I was saying. So she'd say something, I say, "Я понимаю," I understand.
Mm.
Or da, or нет, yes or no. And just simple things, something to help navigate the communication.
So is it true that it's easier to learn Russian than it is to read it? Because I heard reading it was more difficult than actually learning the language.
Reading is very difficult because they have 35 letters in the alphabet, and then they have some letters that they really can't even put a word to it.
Okay.
And then, of course, speaking it is even more challenging because you look at it like they have the R, it's backwards.
Yeah.
And that's Ya, Y-A. And how they spell the names is like, like the first girl I spoke to from Moscow, she spelled her name with A, and what you think is an H,
Mm-hmm.
and then with a Y, the R backwards. So that's spelled Anya.
Whoa.
And so just learning how to say those words, and of course I went to Moscow, and learning to read the signs, because they're in Cyrillic letters.
Yeah.
They don't have the letters that we have. So just having to learn how to pronounce the sounds is very challenging. So Russian is a very hard language to learn. And it's similar to Spanish and how you communicate in Spanish.
So kind of like the words are flipped?
Right.
A little bit? Okay.
Right. And English is backwards to everybody.
Yeah, because like the whole world speaks kind of like in the Spanish punctuation,
Right.
but English is
Completely different.
completely reversed.
Right.
So everyone always says, well, English is reversed than everybody else. Right?
Yeah.
Like, that's what I thought. Yeah, I've heard that.
And so English is a very hard language for people who speak English.
Oh, yeah. There, and there.
Yes. And like daughter and laughter.
Oh, yeah, because
You just
one
change
letter.
one letter.
Yeah. What else is there? Your, and your.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's... Man, I feel bad for people that learn English because that's crazy.
It is.
I mean, you have people that are born here that still can't get your, and your correctly.
Oh, yeah.
When like, oh, you're funny. Y-O-U-R. I'm like, bro, oh, my God.
You don't know how to spell.
I was like, oh, my God. And so whenever you see other people doing proper pronunciation and punctuation that are from another country, and these kids or whoever, 24-year-olds don't know the difference between your, there. It's an embarrassment.
It is.
It's
And
straight embarrassment.
when I was married, I sent my wife to ESL classes, English as a second language.
Mm-hmm.
So she's asking me these questions. I'm thinking, I don't know what you're talking about. They're taught so many things in regards to English rules and stuff like that you don't get that in school. So
Really?
oh yeah.
Huh.
So it's like, past, present, and just so many different structures and so many different labels for how to communicate.
Mm-hmm.
When I was served aboard my last ship, one of our officers, it was a warrant officer from the Philippines, he was correcting people on their English and their punctuation. And it's like, how does this person who speaks Tagalog and is from the Philippines correcting somebody who's born in the United States on how to properly communicate? And so what does it tell you about our educational system?
Yeah. I've been saying that, man, for years, that the teachers themselves don't know how to teach.
Well, what are they passing on? What they learn.
What they learned.
Mm-hmm.
That's just a whole nother thing on that, I'm pretty sure, but
it is. And one thing that I noticed too, and I was talking to somebody, and it's like the kids nowadays don't even know how to make their signature.
Or cursive.
Exactly.
They don't know how to do cursive.
They don't know how to read and write cursive.
I had to teach my son how to do cursive.
Oh yeah.
Or just a cursive signature.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't know how to do it.
And I see people who do that. It's like, can you put your name? Can you sign your name? And then so they just print it. I'm thinking. I said, okay. I mean, I'm not going to tell them that they're wrong. I'm just going to let them.
Oh, I would.
Yeah. There's a particular reason why.
Hey, man, I said sign your name. I didn't say print your name.
I understand the reason why they did that. And I think, it's. I'm not going to say I feel bad for them. I just kind of wish that they would realize that there's other ways to communicate.
Yeah. I mean, I would have told them, like, do you not know how to sign your name?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm not trying to offend them. I just didn't know. I'm going to ask a question. Like, I see signature and then I see a printed name. I'm like, do you not know the difference? Like, sign your name. Oh, I did. Well, no. Like, sign your name. Do you know how to do that? Like, I would have questioned it if they were like, oh, I've never learned cursive. Yeah, of course, I wouldn't blame them. I'd like, you didn't learn it in school? You didn't learn from your teachers?
That's why I didn't question him, because I knew that he didn't know.
Ah, okay. See, I have to have confirmation. I'm not going to assume that. If he did it? If he's like, well, I really didn't want to. I'm like,
well, I looked at his age.
Oh, how old was he?
Yeah, I think he was like 20-something.
Yeah, he definitely didn't know.
And not to say that I was being judgmental or critical. It's just like I said, I know somebody who has grandchildren who don't know how to read and write in cursive.
Wow. Well, I don't think they even teach it anymore.
They don't.
They don't teach it in school, right?
No.
I remember, like, we were barely learning it and barely stopped learning it, like, around my 11th grade year. Mm-hmm. Is whenever they're like, okay, we're not doing cursive no more. So my English 4 in 12th grade, you have to learn any cursive whatsoever. You just wrote it down.
Right. And I can understand to some degree, but I don't understand at all.
Yeah, I don't understand why they stopped.
Because basically you're limiting the level of knowledge.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And when you think about, how do you want people to succeed?
Yeah.
And so are they being taught to succeed? And you talk about how your son's asking these questions about school.
Mm-hmm.
How are these things going to apply in the future? Understanding science is very important.
Mm-hmm.
And you look at what we experienced during COVID. Knowing science and understanding science is crucial. Math and English, everything that you look at, the colors, the paints, your house and everything, developed through math.
Yep. Yeah, there's room, square feet, how tall, how wide.
Right, angles and like that.
Well, that's a good thing, though. Like my son never complained about that, because math, because he knows he's going to use that no matter what job you have, you're going to use math.
Right.
Right. He was more complaining about like the other stuff, like some of his English and some of his social studies and government. Like he's like, I'm never going to use any of this stuff.
Actually, those are crucial too. The government.
The government stuff, yeah.
Government and
for sure, yeah.
Social studies, yes, because.
Well, they weren't teaching him like things that he should know or going to use. Hence, back to your point of like, who invented the light bulb? Like they were teaching him stuff like that. Just like worthless stuff that he could figure out on his own in a book somewhere when he's bored.
Right.
They weren't teaching him, hey, this is legislative branch, this is the executive branch, this is what these branches do. Like he doesn't know any of that, and the dude's going to be in 11th grade this year, and they haven't taught him that.
And that's. I'm going to say it's sad.
Yeah. It's like they don't want the kids to know how government works. Why? Oh, I know why. So they can just run over everybody and have all these people that know how the government works. And if these kids don't know how the government works,
then they can't complain.
They just go with the flow. If they don't know that the executive and legislative branch, passes laws versus another branch that writes the laws, if they don't know that, now you got kids that are just like, oh, okay, well, I guess they all voted on it, so, we'll just go with the flow.
Yeah.
And that's where it's coming to. Sad.
It is. And when you think about it, how do you help your society succeed if you're not educating them?
I don't know how.
Well, you have to change how you think and who you vote for.
Definitely. Everyone figured that out this time, didn't they? Mm-hmm.
When I looked at the whole scheme of it, I was thinking, that's your champion? That's the guy that you're going to say, hey, he can take us from point A to point B?
He can't take himself to point A to point A.1. Dude is, oh, man. Speaking of that, man, I had my friend Mike on here the other day. We were doing like dad jokes and stuff, And there was this joke that pulled up from ChatGPT, because I had written like, give me like 30 dad jokes or whatever, right? Mm-hmm. This dad joke literally said, why did Joe Biden fall off of his bicycle? And my friend Mike was just kind of sitting like, wait, it says? I'm like, it says it, dude. He's like, but wasn't that real? He goes, that was something. I said, yeah, it really happened. And he just starts busting out laughing. And it said because he was too tired. Right? So I was like, oh my God. I'm like, even ChatGPT is putting up jokes on Joe Biden, man. And it's just like, I think it's just elderly abuse at this point, man, to be honest. They are, I don't know what they're doing, but they're trying to do something.
Well, you have to ask the question. He's the president, and if he's putting a signature on there, who's making the decisions?
That's right.
Right?
I think Obama's making the decisions.
We won't go down that rabbit hole.
I'm not scared. I'm not afraid to say it. Remember that interview of Obama? He was like, if I could have a guy that...
I thought I was the only one who saw that video.
Oh, no, it's out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, where he was like, if I could have a front guy and just tell him what to do, and I'll run the country as a third term.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. Joe Biden, front guy, and I mean, the dude can't even make a decision for himself on what type of ice cream he wants.
I haven't seen that.
No, he has to have one of his people tell him, like, no, he likes this ice cream because he doesn't know the ice cream flavor.
Right.
Yeah, his staff does. Sad, man. It's elder abuse, I'm telling you. Like,
yeah, and I have to, I'm going to say this. It's like if you're the staff member and you're seeing that and you're going along with...
I would have said something.
You're going along with that?
Yeah, you're
I'm
evil.
sorry.
Yeah. I agree with you 100%. I think it's BS that they're doing that to him.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's not even about Joe Biden anymore. It's like, why are y'all doing that? I mean, the dude, how old is he now? 78?
He's like 80.
Is he almost 80?
I think he's 80.
Is he 80? I don't know. All that old as shit. But, and that goes with everyone across the board. That's what this podcast is about. It's everyone across the board.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll give you another good reason, or another good example. Just yesterday, did you see Mitch McConnell like actually get almost like a stroke answering questions, sitting up at the podium? Dude blanked. So most millennials are like me. It goes on both sides.
Right.
Like, you old people on this side, get out. You old people on this side, get out. Like, get people that are comprehensible back, in there.
Mm-hmm.
Some Gen X. Get these old baby boomers out. Put some of the Gen X.
Actually, those guys are older than baby boomers.
Are they?
If they're in their 80s, they're not baby boomers.
They're not. What is that then? I thought baby boomers were the last baby boomer year is 63. So
no, 64. I'm a baby boomer.
Okay, 64?
64, 65, somewhere in there.
Okay, so we have to minus about 15 years before that.
Mm-hmm.
So some of the, you're right. They wouldn't be born in there. So so they're older than, okay.
Oh, yeah.
Well then, yeah, whatever that generation is, I don't know what that is. Dirt?
I don't know. There's something before I was born, and it's like I don't follow these labels, and you look at it. You think about Ozzy Osbourne. How old is he?
I think he's almost 82.
Yeah,
because Metallica's 74.
Right, and the Rolling Stones are in their 70s.
Yeah,
they're close to 80.
They're close to 80. Yeah, I think Metallica is the youngest rock band out of that generation.
Uh-huh.
And they're like 73, 74.
That's young.
Well, they're younger than Ozzy. They're younger than who else is that generation? Or those bands?
The Stones.
The Stones.
Aerosmith.
Yeah, Aerosmith. I mean, yeah, he's old as shit too. Pantera.
Uh-huh.
He's like low 70s. That dude is maybe mid 70s. But yeah, they're old. But the point is, like, those dudes that lived in the 30s, 40s, and 50s, they're still acting and passing laws now as if they're still living in the 40s, 50s, and 60s. Bringing up race all the damn... It's like now no one even cares, but they're pushing that to where, well, you have to care. You have to care. And you have these old-ass investors at Disney making every single movie woke as shit. Why do you think Indy 5 is trash? Because why they had to get this feminist to come in there and destroy Indiana Jones. Look at Star Wars. That went down the drain. Why? Oh, because you had to get these feminists to come in, shit on Luke Skywalker, even Princess Leia, the entire Star... Just forget all them. They don't even matter for the past 50 years of Star Wars.
Right.
This lady here, Rey, bestest ever. Like, come on, man. And that's why they're bombing. That's why Indiana Jones 5 didn't do...
I didn't watch Indy. As a matter of fact, I haven't...
It.
I can't remember the last time I went... Well, actually, I do remember. It was called Yesterday.
The movie was called Yesterday. That was the last time you went to the theaters? Yeah. Really? Man, that's
That was, I want to say 2018,
that was a movie a while ago.
2017, 2018. That's the last time I went to theaters.
Jeez, just because or
Yeah, I mean, when I saw the advertisements and stuff like that, it's like, yeah, I don't want to go anymore.
It's not too bad, no.
You don't make any. There was one movie that came out, Hocus Pocus 2.
Oh yeah, my wife saw it. I thought that was on streaming. She saw it on streaming.
I don't know where it came out. I saw it. It wasn't even funny.
Yeah,
It was so. It was just not funny
like
to me.
washed. Is it like washed down kind of?
There was nothing funny about it.
The movie you do need to see, whether it's in theaters or not, man. Sound of Freedom.
Yeah.
That is a good movie. It outbeat Indiana Jones. It outbeat what was that other stupid movie that came out that was woke as shit too? I can't remember, but I know it's been number one for a while. The only movie that it didn't top, I think, was the new Mission Impossible.
I haven't seen that one either.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, me and the kids went to go see that. My nephew and my son, man, they loved it. They were like, man, I didn't know it was like that. That was really Tom Cruise jumping off. I'm like, that's really him, man. He does all his stunt, man.
And he's old too.
Yeah, I think he's like 56.
He's older than me.
Really?
Yeah.
You just said you're turning what? 15?
59.
Yeah, he's not that old. Yeah.
Yeah. And of course,
I got to look this up now.
because I know he was.
Keep talking. I'm listening.
Maybe I am older. But I know he was in the movies like The Right Moves or All the Right Moves.
I first saw him in The Outsiders.
And trying to figure that
You
one out.
were right. He's 61. You
Yeah.
are correct. You are correct. Wow. Dude doesn't look like he's 61. Did you see that picture of like Tom Cruise and that kid and Jerry Maguire, the one with the glasses?
Uh-huh.
Did you see that picture of because he directed the new Mission Impossible, the kid.
Really?
He's a director now.
Uh-huh.
And they had him and Tom Cruise side by side. Why does Tom Cruise look younger than that, man?
I have no idea.
Yeah. Sipping on that baby blood.
And one of the things too is like somebody showed a picture and it says this is to test your age.
Oh, gosh.
And so they had this picture of Bruce Springsteen and they say that's not Woody Allen, that's Bruce Springsteen. And I'm looking, damn, I must be that old.
That old. You knew who it was?
I thought it was Woody Allen.
Really?
Yeah.
They
and
look the same? Let me see. Okay, so Woody Allen and Bruce Springsteen meme. Okay, yeah, there it is. It's a meme.
Uh-huh.
All right, let me see. He doesn't look like Woody Allen.
The one picture I saw just looked like him. I'm thinking,
So, in case you still refuse to feel old, Bruce Springsteen now looks like Woody Allen. Oh, there it is.
Yeah.
That one right there.
Uh-huh.
Oh my God, they do look the same. See, I wouldn't have known that. So I'm in the clear. That's not my generation. I'm in the clear. I wouldn't have known that. But
I don't know how I stumbled on that. It's like, why did I see that? And I guess it was on social media.
They look the exact same.
And like Glenn Close and
I know who she is.
Right, and Glenn Close and she came out on the movie Devil Wears Prada.
That is Glenn Close.
No, that was somebody else.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
It had Katie Holmes and Glenn Close, right?
Actually, it had Devil Wears Prada.
Yeah, I have it right here. Yeah, that's... Hold on. Meryl Streep?
Meryl Streep.
Meryl Streep and Glenn Close. They do look alike now.
Oh, yeah.
Now that I think about it, yeah. But when they were younger, they didn't.
No.
Because I remember my favorite movie with Meryl Streep was The River Wild. Have you ever seen that movie?
That's an old movie, and I vaguely remember the name of it.
Yeah, really good movie. And then a good young movie with Glenn Close was, I think, 101 Dalmatians, because that was like the 90s.
Yes.
And that's where I remember that. But
And she actually looked like that cartoon character, too.
She did. Cruella DeVille.
Yeah.
She played a really good Cruella.
Oh, yeah.
It's really good Cruella DeVille. But now that they're older, I put in their picture side by side, man, I'm using my AI brain to picture them. Yeah, they do. They probably would look the same.
Oh, yeah. It's just amazing how that transformation goes.
Yeah. And there's my wife sent me this these memes all the time on TikTok of, she puts like celebrities next to each other, and I swear to God they're cloned. I swear they're cloned, because it's like they look exactly the same. It's scary.
It is.
Like Katy Perry and that one girl in Yes Man, that actress in Yes Man, and she looks just like Katy Perry.
Wow.
Like dead spit image. And Katy Perry is a singer, and she's like, I think, 10 years younger than that actress. But dead ass looks the same.
I think the scariest thing that I saw years ago, and they showed this picture and these really beautiful women. And of course, this picture was in a men's magazine. And I thought, wow, they look pretty good. And they said, these are the 5 most beautiful transvestites in the world. And I thought, oh, let me throw this away. Right? And it's like, I need to get my eyes checked.
Oh my God.
But you know, when you look at the picture, it was,
I don't know.
It wasn't big where you can tell that.
Was it from the Philippines?
No, it was like.
I say some of those are tricky.
Don't go to the Philippines, because actually you can go to the Philippines.
You can get the man boys.
Benny boys.
Is that what they're called?
Benny boys, yeah.
Benny boys. What they call them something else too. Not girl boy, not the boy girls, but they call them something. I can't remember, but
when I went, they called them Benny boys.
Benny boys. Oh my God.
And over there in Russia, they call them Blue boy.
There was, speaking of that, so my wife and her friend, we were all out hanging out and stuff like that, and I'm just talking to my wife's friend's husband. We're just chilling, having a good, just man-to-man conversation, and the girls over there laughing, etc., blah, 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 this other stuff, and we're just kind of like, man, what the hell are they laughing at? Like, you know, come to find out, they're laughing because one of his friends, the wife's husband's friends or whatever, got sent a picture from this girl and sent it to my friend's wife's husband and was like, yo, what do you think about her, this and that? And he kind of looked at it, was like, it's a little sketchy. Like, if you have to think about it, 99% of the time it's going to be a dude. And so they're laughing about it because she showed my wife that picture, and my wife was like, that's a guy. Like, straight up, that's a dude. Like, you know? And so they were laughing because they were going to trick me and him. So they were like, oh, babe, you know, we're laughing because, and I didn't know this at the time. She was like, you know, this picture of this girl that her friend had sent, you know, he's going to talk to this girl and blah, blah. I was like, oh, okay. I was like, what does she look like? And she goes, oh, this picture of her. And like, I can see like a little smirk on my wife's face. I'm like, this doesn't, I was like, okay. I grabbed the phone from her. I was like, who sent this? And she was like, oh, it was her friend. Like, you know, they found each other on Bumble or whatever. And I was like, that's a dude, man. I put it down. And then I handed it over to her friend's husband. He looked, he's like, oh, that's easy. He's like, yeah, bro, I was like, that dude is talking to this person. She goes, yeah, he doesn't know. I was like, oh my God, someone saved this man. I told him, I was like, babe, you better tell her to tell that dude, like, don't do it. Right. Like, he gonna find some extra equipment.
He's gonna find matching equipment.
Yeah. So it was so funny, man. But you have to be careful. I mean, if that's your kink, that's your kink, whatever. But I know for a fact that dude, he's straight. And he was sending these pictures to her friend, as in, like, what do you think of this girl? I'm talking to her right now. What do you think? Because they're best friends. They grew up together.
Mm-hmm.
And so she showed that picture to my wife and was like, look, making fun of the guy because he wasn't catching on that girl was a dude.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, how can you not? Like, man, those shoulders were broad.
Right.
Like, it was a picture from, like, the chest up.
Mm-hmm.
Now, of course, he had gotten the surgery done and, all that stuff or whatever. At least up here, from the picture, you could tell.
Mm-hmm.
But them shoulders, I was like, oh, my God. Like, nah, they were big.
Right.
Like, they were broad. And that's when I told my wife, I was like, nah, that's a dude, man.
There was I don't know if it's Jerry Springer or whatever.
Yeah, and we grew up on Jerry Springer, too. How can you be offended by that, man? Thank God that man passed away, man. He should have been canceled a long time ago.
Exactly. They had this one episode where this guy liked tall women.
Oh, gosh.
And
I see where this is going right now.
And it was just so comical. And so he liked being dominated.
Oh.
So they bring this really tall woman. And this woman's like 6'3". And I said, well, and there's some more to the story. But anyway, it was revealed that that woman wasn't a woman.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're looking at each other. And they start to throw down. I was like, dude.
Oh.
And there was this big husky guy. And it's like 6'3". I was like, come on, dude. Seriously? But when I was working in the medical field, I met this woman who was 6'3". She's
they're out there, of course.
Oh,
yeah.
And I remember having to take her vitals. It's like, I had to adjust myself because that arm was just so long. It's like, okay, I don't need it. Was like, and I was like, how old are you? How tall are you? She's 6'3". And I'm thinking, wow. And I remember because that episode of Jerry Springer came out before I met that woman. I'm thinking, okay, so women don't get to be 6'3". I'm thinking, okay, so somebody's lying.
Yeah.
And but just that thing there is like, you have to know.
You do. I know. As soon as I saw some of this stuff, man, like, trust me, I was like, what the heck? It's like, I knew. Because I've seen tall women. I've seen women that are taller than me.
Right.
But their figure, you can tell they're a woman.
Mm-hmm.
Right? They're slim up top. They're like this, like they have hips.
Right.
When I saw that picture, I saw a football player with a wig on.
Uh-huh.
Because he was just, like, he filled out the picture.
Mm-hmm.
Because he was just broad.
Right.
So I was like, what the heck? But I know there's tall girls out there, There was this rumor going around, like, Brittany, what's her name? That one who went to Russia who got Brittany Grimer? Grimer? That's her name, right? I think Brittany Grimer.
Something like that.
Yeah. Okay. So, because she had, like, this deep voice in the interview or whatever, they were like, oh, my God, is she trans? It's like, if you look at her build, that's a woman.
Uh-huh.
She may be tall, 6'7", whatever, but when you look at, come on, man, that's a chick. Even a slim dude is still broad. Look at the dudes in the NBA; they're still boop.
Oh yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Yeah, and they're thin, but they tried to do that to her. I'm like, man, leave her alone. Like, she was in prison in Russia. It's like, I know she did all this crap with the anthem I didn't agree with at all. What she did, talk shit about the United States. I didn't agree with that at all. But at the same time, it's like, she's back. She apologized, and she was like, I love America, but, like, she completely reversed her stuff.
It's amazing what happens when you get stuck in a foreign country where you have zero rights.
Yep.
And
exactly. And so that's why I'm like, okay, she learned her lesson.
Uh-huh.
She is the first one to stand when it's like, everyone rise. Bro, she's already standing up. She's already standing up like this. Mm-hmm. Like, before they even say national anthem, she's just like, yep, I'm standing. Whereas before, she was kneeling, black people have no rights, were treated badly. And then you go to Russia, you get caught where they don't give a shit who you are. They don't. Nope, you're just going to sit in jail no matter what. Now, she was trying to go, I'm American, I'm black. We don't care. Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, they don't care.
Mm-mm.
I got to visit Moscow back in '96.
I've never been to Russia.
It was an experience. And I think I kind of alluded to that. It's like over there in Russia, there's nothing. The only signs that are in English, Fanta, Sprite, Coca-Cola.
Brand names.
Brand names.
Yeah.
And you see the golden arches from McDonald's. Other than that, everything's in Russian, Cyrillic letters. And when I was over there, one particular day, I'm watching the news, and I see that there was a bus that had been blown up. And I thought, okay. So the woman that I was visiting, I shared that information with her. She said, I didn't hear about that. And, okay. So she, the day passed, and she said, saw her the next day. She said, yeah, it happened about a mile away from the hotel you stay at.
Jeez.
And then there was a second one. So, okay, after the second one, I said, they're going to come knocking on my door. And like when you're in the military, if you're going to go to places like that, you have to ask permission from high up.
Really?
Yes, it isn't just your commanding officer.
Jeez.
So it's like there's a whole chain of things, and it's like a 3 or 4 month process. And of course, they want to know where you're going, who you're going to see, and even the defense attaché in Moscow has to know about it. So I said, they know I'm here already.
Mm-hmm.
And so when they come knocking on the door, and those in law enforcement over there, they don't speak English. So you either know the language or you just know how to understand certain words. So they come knocking on the door at the hotel, and I answered it. And so they asked for my passport, my visa, and they just wanted to verify who's there. And that's an eye opener.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're in a foreign country and you're not traveling with a group or whatever, there's just so many things that you have to be so attuned to. And I'm fortunate that the woman I met was very forthright and very helpful. Because when I made arrangements with the travel agency, they gave me a hotel and all this stuff. And so I shared that information with her. She says, oh, no, you're not staying there.
Oh.
Because there are certain parts in Moscow where you do not flipping want to go.
Oh. Man, see, that's why I don't want to. That's why I don't want to travel over there. Look like that movie Hostel.
Mm-hmm.
Having all fun and stuff. Next thing you know, getting cut up, chopped up, and plus you being American.
Well, they hate you even more.
Oh yeah.
Well, I was the first ship I served on. We had two of our shipmates that we pulled into this port down in South America where they hate this one particular port. They really hate Americans.
Mm-hmm.
So they had anti-American demonstrations, and they had, burned the flag, and, they had riots. And it was an interesting experience. I'll talk to you about it after we do the podcast. But anyway, two of our shipmates were jumped, beat to hell,
damn,
and left in the gutter for dead by a mob. And so...
And they died?
No, they lived.
Oh, they lived. They were just left for dead.
Yeah, they were left for dead.
Okay.
And that was on the first night that in port.
Golly.
And so the rest of the time we were there, nobody went on liberty.
Oh, yeah.
Nobody.
Even if they granted it, like, nope. You saw what happened to Johnson? No.
They granted liberty, and it was the whole ship stayed aboard.
I wouldn't doubt it.
And
should barricade off the ship too, man. Like,
yeah. And so we got underway. We left them behind. Nobody knew where they were.
Oh man.
And so they missed ship's movement, and they were both troublemakers to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know the whole story as to how they got caught up with this, but going out and partying and stuff like that. And a good Samaritan found them, took them to their home, took care of them.
Dang.
And then they saw their faces on television. They said, "Yeah, that's us." So fortunately, that they were taken to the American embassy, and they were transported, and they finally caught up to us. They went up to Captain's Bass, and one of them I knew personally, because we were in the same department. And this guy was just a total jerk. You couldn't talk to him. You couldn't sit there and instruct him on anything. And they were given an option. get out or stay in. One of them took the option to get out. So they let him go. That one that I just described, he decided to stay. And it was a 180 turn on this guy. The nicest person you could talk to. He started doing more, started working to learn and communicate. And just that appreciation of knowing that there are just certain things that you'll experience in life that helps you to realize that your life really isn't that bad.
Right.
So
that's where pretty much 80% of Gen Z needs to go and discover that, because they're so comfy here, they don't know what it's like to be somewhere else where they don't have all that stuff.
Right.
They're all complaining, most of them, oh, America's this, America's that, America's racist. If America is so racist, why does everyone want to come here?
And that's the question that they don't ask.
Yeah, and these are the debates that I get into with these idiots, is I tell them, okay, if America is so racist, why did, 1 million immigrants migrate over here illegally? If we were so racist, hanging people left and right, black, brown, all this stuff, if we're so bad, why is it pouring over 500,000 illegal immigrants of brown people every single day?
And the other thing you should ask is, if it was so racist, then why are you having different ethnic groups in the spotlight?
Yeah.
Like Chris Rock and, what's his name? Kevin Hart.
Oh, yeah. They say they're the exception.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, man, believe me, I've ran into these idiots. I mean, literally talk to them.
And talk about Dr. Ben Carson.
That's a good man. I met him.
Yeah, I got to listen to him speak at our church a while back. And it's like, he's funny.
Oh, wait, no, I'm thinking of Alan West. Sorry.
Alan West. I met him too.
Sorry, yeah, I met Alan West, not Ben Carson.
Yeah.
My bad.
And Ben Carson, he's got a sense of humor.
Really?
All right, and he's talking about how he grew up in poverty from a single-parent home, and he was an F student. Affirmative action didn't make him a world-renowned neurosurgeon.
Right.
You can't ever earn that achievement through affirmative action.
No, hell no.
And so he talked about, there's no limitation on anybody. And this limitation is what you impose on yourself. And that's just a fact. If you say I can't, well, you won't. And when you say I can, you will. And I look at people, I don't call them handicapped, I call them hindered.
Hindered.
People who are missing limbs, people who...
Oh, okay. Yeah.
They're labeled disabled. And
yeah. They're not really like handicapped. I mean, yeah, they're disabled. But I think more of handicapped as people born the way they are. Like, that's handicapped. I don't think people that are normal missing limbs and stuff, I don't consider them handicapped. I consider them, disabled.
Yeah. And when I look at disabled, it means inoperative.
Yeah, for sure.
And so you see these people with these prosthetic legs and they're running races. That's disabled. I'm sorry.
It actually gives them an advantage.
Yeah. I mean, and that is it's in the mind, right? And so when you think of, oh, well, we're being oppressed, well, you oppress yourself.
Yep.
Because you allowed it.
Yep.
I think about my heritage being Mexican. My grandfather served in the Army in World War II, and that was when the military was segregated. 1952, Harry Truman desegregated the military. So my grandfather served in a segregated unit. And what they experienced, what my family experienced growing up, was that they weren't allowed to own land. They weren't, in the military, they didn't allow different ethnic groups to be in technical fields. They either worked in laundry, shoe shine, worked in the galley, cooking food.
Or cooking, yeah.
Yeah, something that did not require a thought.
Pretty much. Yeah, I mean, Pearl Harbor shows that, as they had the Cuba Gooding Jr. That he says he wants to be more than just a cook, so he does the boxing match or whatever.
Actually, he's that swimmer.
Huh?
Was that Cuba?
Cuba Gooding Jr. in Pearl Harbor.
Oh, Pearl Harbor. I missed that part.
Yeah, Pearl Harbor. He wants to prove himself that he's more than a cook, so he goes up against like one of the biggest like white dudes there, and he boxes him. Ends up beating him, wins the money, but they still label him as a cook.
Right.
but he just wanted the respect of like, I can be more than a cook.
Mm-hmm.
So it was pretty. I mean, so that's what made me think of that when you were talking about segregation in like
Right.
the 1940s.
Oh yeah.
For the military.
And like my grandmother's brother, he was a boxing champion in the 40s.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, he served in the military. So he was a champion in the military, but he was, I'm going to say, featherweight. In a way, he could have been the Texas state champion. But because of like a Don King type of individuals, he never was awarded that distinction. But he was a pretty damn good boxer.
Really?
To be a champion. And so there was a marquee poster with him that my grandmother had. And so he was like one of the headliners. And, it goes back to Dr. Ben Carson. Ethnicity does not determine your level of worth or your level of intelligence or your level of abilities.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one thing that when you look at who's in the spotlight. Kevin Hart's a funny guy. Chris Walk's a funny guy. Steve Harvey's a funny guy.
Yep.
Richard Pryor, that guy crossed all kinds of brown.
Oh, man. Yeah, he did.
And
yeah. God, Richard Pryor. Oh, man, that dude is hilarious.
He is.
Is he still alive?
No, he's dead.
He died?
Mm-hmm.
Oh. I wonder what... Oh, yeah, that's right. He did. Yeah, he did. I think, wouldn't he die like the 2010 or something?
I think it was before that.
Really?
Yeah.
But he wasn't that old, though, was he?
I don't remember how old he was, but I remember in the movies with Gene Wilder, those two made a good pair.
Oh, man, they made funny movies, dude.
Oh, man, that's just...
What was that one? Oh, with them. It's Blazing Saddles, isn't it?
Well, actually, that was Gene Wilder and Cleavon Little.
That's Blazing Saddles.
That's Blazing
Okay.
Saddles.
Okay. I knew it was one of them, but I knew Gene Wilder was in that one. That's what I was telling you. I saw that, man. Oh, man, now make me want to watch it again.
Yeah, and
I can find it. Trust me, I'll find it.
it is. I actually wrote a college paper on that movie.
Really?
Right.
You know what our Blazing Saddle is for like our generation?
What's that?
Tropic Thunder.
I haven't seen that one.
You haven't seen that one? Oh my god! It's Robert Downey Jr. plays a black guy.
Really?
Yeah.
We laugh about that, but back in the 40s and 50s, ethnic white people played either Indians or blacks.
Yeah, and it's so funny, man. I mean, that movie crosses a lot of lines. And Gen Z tried to cancel that movie as well, but Ben Stiller was like, "Yeah, good luck." It's like it's not gonna happen. But it's funny because like he plays a black guy, but then they actually have an actual black guy. And like one of the famous lines for the movies is they're discussing like black people going through stuff,
right?
And the black guy can clearly see like Robert Downey Jr. is a white dude playing black, and so Robert Downey Jr. has like this accent of a black. He's like, "Yeah, I'm a dude with another dude playing this dude." He like kind of has this funny accent, and he's explaining to Jack Black, because Jack Black's in there too, about how black people are going this depression. And he says, blah, blah, blah. He's like, yeah, my people. And the black guys, what do you mean your people? Who's you people? Oh, dude, it is so funny, man. I think you'll get a kick at it. It's called Tropic Thunder.
Yeah, I'm going to have to check that out.
I think it was made like 2011 or 2012. It's not that old. It's a good decade old movie, but man, is it so funny, dude. Oh, but it crosses lines like Blazing Saddles.
Right.
Yeah.
Even the Saturday Night Live when... because Richard Pryor was on Saturday Night Live along with Chevy Chase, and they had one scene in there. It just had me rolling. Because
what was it? No one's gonna come after you.
Chevy Chase is an administrator for a school district, and he's hiring a janitor, and Richard Pryor has to be that janitor, right?
Oh God!
And so he's just throwing all these ethnic slurs out there, and so Richard Pryor is throwing them back, right? and Richard Pryor's getting all huffy puffy, and
I think I've seen that skit.
Yeah, and it's funny, and he says, Dad honky. Oh, sure, you got the job, but we'll give you 2 weeks off, before you start and blah blah blah, paid vacation and it's just so freaking funny, man. It's like, and you got to the point where it's like you don't care. And there's like this one comedian that I saw who happened, I don't forget his name, but he happened to be gay. And he's telling his comedy, he's doing up there, I'm laughing at him. And he goes, I don't know what it is with these big rednecks with this big beer belly, and just like this ugly face thinking that, yeah, I don't want some gay guy hitting on me. Dude, we have standards too. I mean, it's just so funny, man. I just had to die laughing. It's like, God. And to me, they're people, right? And they have their beliefs, and if that's what they believe, so be it. And I accept them when they accept themselves. And I think that's where the problem lies, is if what you're doing, if you really believe that what you're doing is normal and acceptable, why do you care what anybody else thinks?
Because it's social media.
Well, who cares about social media?
Young generation.
Yeah. I mean, social media, when I first heard about it, it's like it connects people. Mm-hmm. Really? And so there's some people who I really cared about, whom I respected in the past. Mm-hmm. I don't want to hang out with them. And it's just like, fine. It's like there's a point where you just grow out of that character and you grow out of that group. And if this is where you want to spend your life with the disconnect and the boundaries of the, ethnic lines and all this stuff, fine. But don't drag that with everybody else.
Yeah.
People are people. There's nothing that's going to stop a person from having success except their own mental attitude.
That's very true.
And so how do I help people with my program through that? This is help them understand that what you were taught in the past, mm-hmm. you can rewrite that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, let's go ahead and let's close out with that. That's a good point to close out on, is saying how you help people with that mindset, because like I said, I had my struggles. And even then we talked about it that one time whenever you were telling me to change that mindset or whatever. And I was like, nah, forget that. It's like, that's just how I am. Like, it was really, it's hard to, we were at the gas event, the Great American Summit, when we were talking about that, right? Yeah. So there's like certain points to my professionalism that I do take that in consideration, changing my mindset and stuff like that. But at the same time, and this is just personal experience for me, I have been screwed over so many times,
right?
Not only by friends, mostly family.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, my mom, she's a big family, right?
Mm-hmm.
Me, I don't care. Well, my immediate family, like my mom, my sister, my wife, right? Yes. But family, it's like, I don't care. And, she would always ask me, why are you like that? This and that, blah, blah. And I would explain to her and I'm not going to say it on stream, but, what I went through with family, mm-hmm. and why I don't respect any of them and why I don't care for any of them. And me treating people on the outskirts of that, that's a big reason why. And it's just the same as someone who, maybe got abused when they were little.
Right.
And now it's really hard for them to have a relationship. And you have the partner saying, well, why can't we just do this? But to that person, it's like, well, we can't because I have these problems and I can't just get over it. So essentially, that's kind of where I am as far as other people. Business-wise, completely different. Whenever I'm talking business, it's just straight business. What can I do for you? This, that, blah, blah. I don't put anything like that. But when it comes to just hanging out, my wall is up on everybody.
You're right. And you have to set boundaries and healthy boundaries. Mm-hmm. What do you want in your life? Mm-hmm. And I say, you look at the people who overcome addictions. I don't care what it is, pornography, gambling, drugs, alcohol. Those people's lives did not change until they changed themselves. And that's just the bottom line.
Oh, for sure. Agreed.
I have a mentor who talks about how he was sexually molested as a child and how that impacted him as an adult. And so we have this thing called mistaken identity. And I alluded before, it's like, who are you? Your name is, TJ, but that's not who you are.
True. Yeah.
That's your name that's given to you. You can always change it. But who you are. And that's just when you take the time to study you. What can I do to make my life better? And that's what the program I use is like, what can I do differently? How can I look at this problem? When you look at a problem, it has a solution to it. Do you know the answer? Oftentimes, yes. Because if you have the question, you have the answer. And it's how you look at it and from which angle you're looking at it. You look at those pictures that have you see the image and you shift just a little bit, you see a different image, you shift another, you see like 3 or 4 different images.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
That's the same with your problem. When you look at your problems from, different angles, you're going to get a different perspective and a different understanding. And so when you take the time to understand you and understanding that you can change, then that's when your life gets better. And that's the thing about the program. It's just like, how do I change? People say they're a procrastinator. I'm a procrastinator. I'm this, I'm that. No, you're not. You deal with these characteristics. But how do you overcome these issues with procrastination, with your time management? How you look at it and your beliefs about, time management, and really what's important. And the majority of the time, people are not wanting to do the things that, if you don't want to do it, you're not going to do it.
Yeah.
And so you fall into that procrastination. That's not something I really want to do. And that's why people don't get into personal development. It's like, I really don't want to do that. Why? They're so comfortable in being who they are. And it's easy to blame other people. And I used to do that. And it's like, how many times you say, well, my wife makes me mad, my children make me mad, my boss makes me mad. No, there's nothing external to your emotions. It's all internal. And it's the value that you put on to their actions and their words. And so you have control over you. And that's one of the things that I want to do is to show people you can take control of your life and you don't have to judge yourself.
Right.
So the things that you experienced as a child growing up when somebody said that you're not a good student, you're not good at math, you're not good at this, those are just lies. You're as good as you want to be. And you can be better than what you were told. And so
that's awesome, man. That's good. I mean, that's a good program. And like I said, anyone who wants to, talk to this man, his socials will be in the description, so I appreciate it, man. That's a really good podcast. Really good. I learned a lot. Man.
I thank you for your time. I thank you for the invitation.
Always, man. Always. So we're going to go ahead and wrap that up. But like I said, guys, is Michael Chaves. Thank you so much. All of his info is going to be down in the description below. If you guys want to reach out, I know you have your Instagram. We'll make sure that's in there. Where can they best reach you at?
Best reach me. You can find me on Facebook.
Facebook. Okay.
Right. And I know there's like 50 million Michael Chaveses, but mine has thinking the results on there.
Well, I'm going to put yours specifically in the description. Yeah. So they'll definitely find it down there, be able to click on it.
Okay.
But that's awesome. Cool. And then your Instagram, you shout out your Instagram?
I have to remember that. I'm limiting my time on Instagram. It's like, it's about controlling my habits. It's like, how do I budget my time?
Respect. All right. That works, man. So, all right, guys, thank you so much. Like, subscribe. Again, Michael, thank you so much being on the Millennial Mind podcast, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Take care.